Hi, everybody. I'm Ariel,
I'm Melina.
and welcome to AM and the PM. Today, I'm very excited about what we're going to talk about because people who know me, or maybe, I mean, some of you don't, but those listening who know me know that I love Princess Diana. And so today, we share the same birthday, by the way, if you didn't know that. If I haven't already
Ew, I
told you
didn't know
that,
that. That's so
yes,
funny.
July 1st. She's my birthday twin.
That's
Anyway,
so great.
but today we're going to be talking about the Harry and Meghan documentary. And as soon as the documentary trailer came out, I told Melina, I was like, we need to cover this on the podcast because
Yeah.
not only do I love Diana, but Harry and Meghan are just like top tier to me. Like they're just
Mm.
one of my favorite like couples in like the celebrity world right now. And so everything that they've like experienced like in the last few years, them getting to tell their story, I was like, oh, I'm in this. I'm absolutely watching. So, you know, buckle in, get your tea, get your coffee, where whatever you're doing right now, and just like join us on this discussion.
Yeah.
So how it basically starts is like it starts with them telling the story of how they met and how they came to know each other, and then it goes all the way until about I think like either this year or the end of 2021. Um,
I think they said that the interviews finished in August of this year. And I
yeah,
kind of feel like they made it a point to say that because the Queen died shortly after, and there's nothing
yeah,
on
yeah,
that in there.
that's true.
So I
Yeah,
think it was
okay.
like a couple of months ago that they finished.
Hmm. So basically we're going to go episode by episode and just go from there. So episode 1 is basically like Harry and Meghan's love story. So when I watched this, I immediately was like, I love them. But like I thought, first of all, like Harry being willing to sacrifice his like status and everything for like his wife was just like to me I was like, oh, he no one's beating him. He was just kind of very adamant, like I am not going to allow like history to repeat itself. And he's talking about his mom, and if you're listening, you don't know, like Princess Diana was like the world's princess, like
Hmm.
everybody loved her. And when Princess Diana and Prince Charles divorced, like she was basically left alone to like fend off the media
Yeah.
like by herself, and they were already so like invasive and obsessed with her, but like when she divorced Prince Charles it was like even worse.
It was insane.
And she ended up passing away from a car crash because she was being chased by the paparazzi,
Right.
and he was basically like, yeah, this isn't going to happen again, this isn't going to happen with my wife.
Do you
So
know if there were like, sorry to interrupt you, but any like legal
mhm.
repercussions for that, like for the people chasing her, or any kind of like law passed after, or like an attempt at a law after that happened?
I don't know. I was thinking like if there was, then like it would have been in effect
Yeah,
when
that's true.
this was all going on. So I really don't think that they did anything, because it doesn't seem like, even watching the documentary, it doesn't seem like there was any laws against the paparazzi put in place. Like
Hmm.
there were no perimeters. Like these people were acting like wild animals. Like, so I don't think there was any, but I don't want to say that there weren't if there actually were, but from
Right.
what I could see or observe, it doesn't seem like there were like any sort of like protocols put in place. And from like what we learn in this documentary is like the media and like the institution of the royal family have this like weird relationship
Hmm.
anyway. So it basically starts off with Meghan telling the story of how they met. And so she had been single, and she basically was like, I'm just going to have a single girl summer. I'm going to go live my best life, have
Right.
girls' trips with my
Hot girl
besties,
summer.
hot girl summer. I'm not even looking for anybody. I'm just trying to be single.
Hmm.
And she takes like a selfie with one of her friends with like a Snapchat filter. And a friend of Prince Harry's, who I guess they had in common, he like sees her on the story of this friend, and he's like, "Who is that? I
Mm.
want her." And I was like, you know what? This is inspiring me. I
Mhm.
was like, maybe I should have a single girl summer or just a single girl year, enjoy my life, hang out with my girls, and we just take cute selfies and a duke will find me. Because you never know. Because clearly he's friends of a friend of a friend. I was like, who, you never know. Someone could just be observing and they live all the way in like London or Italy and they're like hecka rich and they're
Mhm.
a duke and they just were like, I want her.
Right.
But what did you think about that? Of like how they met and stuff?
I mean, it's like simultaneously, I've been saying this like a Wattpad story because of all
Mm-hmm.
the stuff that happens after. Like him, I feel like that it's such a either Wattpad or like just a fantasy thing
Yeah.
to be like this love that comes in, it's forbidden and it like tears down the establishment. It's like it's just kind of unheard of, you know? It's like
Yes.
something that just doesn't
Yeah.
happen in real life.
Never.
But then at the same time, it's like very modern because Prince Harry literally basically slid into her DMs through another person, which
Yeah.
is amazing to me. I don't know
Yes.
why. But I think that's super, super funny. And it's just like wholesome, I think. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
just a genuine interest at first of like, who is this person? And her reaction too, when the friend was like, I'm setting you up on a date with Prince Has, and her being like, who is that? Like, I
Right.
love that.
Because especially because us as like Americans, like we only know them as Prince Harry, Prince William, Prince Charles, whatever. Like I until this documentary, I didn't know anyone called him Has. I was like, oh, that's an
Especially if you're
interesting
right.
nickname.
That's being said to you in Canada or in America or wherever she was. She
Hmm.
sent the message. I think I would also be like, "Who are you talking about? Harry Styles?
Right.
Like, is that who you're referencing?"
Right. Yeah, that's so crazy. And then how they just like they clicked so fast and then like they didn't see each other for like a while.
Hmm.
And then but they had basically like a long distance relationship. They just were on the phone all the time.
Hmm.
And then like when they finally got to meet when their schedules matched up, they literally like spent a week in Botswana on a like missions trip essentially.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a movie. Like
Hmm.
this is crazy. Um
I feel like it's
but
very much one of those like when you know kind of things too.
yeah,
Because it's like it's weird. It seems too forward and weird if it's not the right person. That would be really
yeah.
uncomfortable if you knew like something about this person I'm just not that into. But I feel like because they knew like this is the person for
Mm-hmm.
me. It was
Mm-hmm.
just like, yeah, it's natural. It feels really rushed and fast.
Yeah.
It's I know this is the person. Like I was thinking about like my uncle when he started dating my aunt. They were like young, like really young. Within
Mm-hmm.
a month, less than a month of dating, he was like, "I love you. Also, I'm going to marry you. I just want you to know." And they're married and they have two beautiful like
I
children
love
now.
that.
So,
That's so
um
cute.
I feel like when you know. You know.
No, like genuinely, people say that all the time. Like they're just like, oh, I knew from the moment I met them. That's segueing me into like another celebrity couple, Sofia Vergara and her husband, Joe, I
Oh.
think it's Magniello or something is his last name. He's an actor too.
Was he in One Tree Hill or am I confusing him with somebody else?
Yes, he was Owen.
Yes, I did know that. I forget that periodically and then I see them together and I'm like, "Oh."
Yes, yeah. He literally like knew she was his like wife from the moment like he saw her. Like he said that I think the news came out that she was like single or something, and he
Mhm.
texted her co-star Jesse Tyler Ferguson from Modern Family and was like, "Hey, can you give me Sophia's number?" Like pretty much was like, "Can you set this up?" And he
Cute.
was like, "Yeah." And like they've been together ever since. So I think that's really cute. When
Mm.
like when you really know and you're like sure about it. And I mean their life is just like beautiful despite all of the mess that
Mhm.
we're going to get into. But this episode also touched on like Harry's childhood
Mhm.
and how the media was so involved in his life even before he was born because they were already so obsessed with his mom. So like I just remember like when they showed the clip of like his mom after she gave birth to him, like the swarm of people that were out there and like basically like he just always had a camera in his face like there he was like his whole life he would see men like following him,
Mhm.
taking pictures, taking videos. Like they would go on family trips and the paparazzi would be there and basically ask them to like interact with them. And then like even after they did, like they would give them their minutes that they wanted to the paparazzi, and then like they'd be going to go play, and like the paparazzi would be like in the bushes, like trying to take pictures or trying to take video.
Right.
And I was just like, I can't imagine like how that even like warps your reality as a kid. Like, like why are people taking pictures of me, but they don't take pictures of like other people kind
Yeah.
of thing.
And it's for
Like
something
not,
you never chose. You were born into it
yeah,
with no other choice. This is
yeah,
how your life
yeah,
is. You cannot opt out of it.
yeah. And I was thinking about how like how involved the media was in his life from the moment he was born, like well into his adulthood, how like suffocating that must have felt. Like to never have a moment where you're like, I just want to be by myself. Like I
Mm.
just want to go for a walk or get a coffee or do whatever. And like I can't because people are just constantly asking me things or taking pictures of me without my consent, or even just like releasing the most craziest articles about him, like when they show when he's like getting older, like that he was like the wild prince, the party boy, the, you know, going off on the drugs and alcohol, just going to clubs all night, and he's just
Mhm.
like, I was literally just being normal. Like
Well, also, like, I think now that I'm older, I see a lot of things that were portrayed by the media when I was younger through a different light. One, because I'm older,
mm-hmm,
and two,
right,
because now I feel like I have more awareness of like the media is portraying this how they want, like the way that they treated Britney Spears, for example,
mm-hmm,
or
mm-hmm,
just like the countless celebrities that's like celebrity lashes out at paparazzi, and it's like, well, you were in their face. Of course they
yeah,
did. And so
like
I
the
think about
infamous Toby Maguire.
yes, who now hates all paparazzi everywhere for good
Yes,
reason,
yeah,
honestly.
absolutely.
And it makes me think of because I remember seeing like headlines about Harry and how he was like, like what you just said, like
Mm-hmm.
rebellious and like, I mean, people still liked him. They partially liked him because of that, because he was like
Yeah,
out and
the
about
bad
and he was doing
boy.
something. I feel like at one
Mm-hmm.
point there was an article about him being like naked on a balcony. I don't know if I made that up.
Yes, I like, no, no, that sounds
That feels
familiar.
too like weird for me to have
Yes.
made up. But
No, no, that
now,
definitely was like an article.
yeah, but now that I'm older, two things. One, I think partially it's like, of course, he was 17, 18. It kind of reminds me
Mm-hmm.
of like when I think Malia Obama was like smoking weed. People were
Mm-hmm.
making a big deal about it. It's like she's like
Yeah.
20 years old. Give her a
Yeah.
break. Like,
I'm like,
and
and people smoke weed. Like, why are you guys acting like
right.
she's any different? Like,
Right. And then also, like, when you think about the context of his mom died when he was a child, it's like you are giving him
yes.
zero empathy and like not stopping to ask, like, if he is acting out, why? Why is that? And are we
Yeah.
making it worse by being all over him and like
Mm-hmm.
exploiting his life in this way?
Yes.
The answer to which is yes, we are making it
Yeah.
worse.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so it's like interesting now to like to rethink stories I heard when I was younger because of the fact that it's like, well, it was being told by the same
Yeah.
media that were harassing people. So of course
Mm-hmm.
they were going to portray them as bad, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think too is just like something that I just kept like saying to myself while I was watching too, is just like how much this was just like a reflection of what happened to Diana.
Hmm.
Like, and like, I love how they kept like bringing it back to her, or even just talking about who she was like as a person.
Yeah.
Cause a lot of the times we didn't really get to see some of the things that they showed, like her like standing up to the paparazzi during their like family trip and being like, can you just like, can you please just go? Like,
Hmm.
we're trying to have like a family vacation right now.
Right.
Um,
And she was
just
super like polite, way more polite than
yeah,
she needed to be.
because the way I wouldn't have been that nice, no. Mm-mm.
Right.
But I think too, it's like she knew that if she acted a certain way, the media would take it and, you know, turn it into something else, which we saw, as we see with like Harry and Meghan, with like
Hmm.
they couldn't do anything without the media twisting it in some way.
Right.
Um, and so I love the kind of like sides of Diana we got to see, and it also showed me like that Harry is really a lot like his mom, in a lot of ways. And like I wrote like Perry Prince Harry is his mother's son. I could cry. Like because he's just so like warm and gentle and like he just cares so much about like servicing people and like going to these different countries and like doing all these things to just like help, like using his like status and his privilege to go out there and like help people
Which
who
is stuff
need
that we
it.
weren't told, like, the stuff about
Mm-hmm.
him being in I think it was, like, Lesotho, right? Going
Yeah.
like, he made a good friend there. I never heard about any of that growing up.
No.
It was always Prince Harry is naked on a balcony, you know?
Yeah, or like who he was dating,
Yeah.
or like I think even when I think the last like serious thing I saw about him was the when he joined the military, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, no, it's true. We didn't get to see like that side of him either. Um, and so the next episode really goes into like the media and like consumption and like the influence on culture.
Mhm.
Because like essentially I think that is when it's like announced that he and Meghan are together and the media goes insane.
Mhm.
Like
Immediately.
like that. It just explodes like article after article, magazine after magazine, like everything is just them. And I was just like, again, I can't imagine how overwhelming that is to like all of a sudden, especially for Meghan, for like you going from like kind of like this actress that like people didn't really know about unless
Mhm.
they watch Suits to
Right.
like,
Did you know her before it was announced that she was dating?
no, I had remembered like when Suits was on TV, I didn't watch Suits, but I remember seeing like little commercials and stuff. I
Mhm.
remember seeing like her face on the commercials of like episodes and stuff, but like I didn't like watch the show enough for me to be like,
Right.
oh, cool, I love her. But I was like, oh, I don't know her, but she seems nice.
Mhm. Cute.
And I mean, like from yeah, she's really pretty. Like she
Mhm.
seems really cute. It's fine. I was like, he got him a black girl too. That's awesome.
Period.
Love it. So I was
You
like,
know that
oh,
audio that's like, "A win is a win."
yes, like I was like, a win is a win. Like I did not care. I was like, okay, period. But like the way that the media was like obsessed started being like, okay, this is crazy.
Mhm.
Like this is a lot. Like and then they're explaining how the institution works and how like, you couldn't interact with the paparazzi a certain way, or like you just didn't interact with them at all, like you either said like no comment or
Mhm.
like you just never said anything, because she gives the example of how like she's like I think she's like in London for like the first time to like meet his family. I think it's
Yeah.
before they got engaged or
Yeah.
something, or did she meet them after they got engaged? I can't remember. I blurred. Oh, they're all blurred together.
I don't know.
But essentially she's in London to meet his family, and she's like going to her car or something,
Mhm.
and the paparazzi are like, saying hi to her, taking pictures, and she just says hi, like she's just nice, she's like, hey, have a good day, whatever. And he's like, you can't talk to them. And she's like, why? And he's like, they're saying you like the attention. And like lo and behold, there was an article saying like Meghan like flashes a smile for the camera. She loves the attention of the media. And I'm like, and I was just like watching, like, what?
Right.
How did you guys even get that from her just saying hello? Like, where does that even come from?
I know, it's wild. I mean, I think they were just also bent on misconstruing anything that she did for
Mm-hmm.
reasons that
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we'll get into in later episodes.
Yeah.
But also, I think about like the paparazzi exchanges that she was used to in the past because they showed a little bit of that with like her and like Suits, and they talked to
Mm-hmm.
her friends slash co-stars. And although it wasn't at anywhere near the same level as being like harassed by the British media, when she was confronted with like cameras or people in America or Canada or wherever she was, it was always like, I love your show. Can I get a picture? So I feel like
Right.
that's what she was used to. And I don't think she probably wasn't aware that like these people are actually just waiting for me to do something wrong so
Yeah.
that they can write about it, post about it, and get money for it, which is really
Mm-hmm.
sad.
Yeah.
Because it's like she genuinely is being a nice person. You guys are going out of your way to follow her and take pictures of her. The fact that she even spoke to you kindly at all is
When
so
she doesn't
nice.
have to.
No.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So it's like that. And then like what was so interesting too is like when they get engaged, I remember when the like the basically the photo op happened when like they were standing outside. She has like the white coat on and they're like showing the ring. I thought it was just like they're just like a cute little thing. And then we learned like she's like, oh yeah, that was all like fake, like set up. We had to do that. And I was like, oh like it's like we start to learn, like it goes into it a lot in episode 3, where it's
Mm,
like we start to learn like I guess like the power of the institution of the
mm,
royal family, which is basically like the family business, is how she describes it.
yeah.
And like the media, and like basically like they are at, so it's like the royal family institution is at like the will of the media, and then they're at the will of like the royal family institution. Like
Mm,
that's kind of how I saw it. Like, because it's like they feed the media whatever they need to give them, and the media runs it, exposes whatever, or makes stuff up at this point.
mm,
But then like they can't do anything about it. The royal family won't tell them, like will tell them like, no, you just can't say anything. You just go about your day, go about your life, even though you're being harassed online repeatedly, murder threats, like, but it's okay. You just have to keep it pushing.
mhm,
Um, and so it's just interesting to see like oh, some of the moments that we were even given that seemed like they were like cute personal moments were like really just like, no, we had to do that for like a photo op
right.
essentially, which is like, dang, like it's not really that real when we think about it.
Mhm,
um so episode 3 opened up with like a really interesting history lesson for me.
mhm,
So it went into like the British monarchy, their history, and like their role in like slavery and colonialism and all of that. And I was like, whoa. Like I was like, I think it's I mean, obviously we know that like the origins of like slavery come from England and
mhm,
everyone over there. But like even the journalist saying like he only learned in the context of slavery about the abolition of slavery in school. I was like, that is so interesting.
yeah,
I was like, because it's like history gets watered down even there, which I mean, I shouldn't be surprised by, but I was just like, wow, they like don't teach history the way that they should either. Which
right.
again, I shouldn't be shocked, but like, I don't know how you felt when you heard that, but like, I was like, oh, he was like, yeah, like that. I only remember like learning about the abolition of slavery, but I never learned like all the things that like happened before that. And I was like, huh, that's so interesting how the same thing happens over here.
Yeah, I guess I don't think I had ever sat and really thought about slavery in the context of like it's not that I hadn't thought about it in the context of Europe. I knew it, but I
Mhm.
mostly have thought or heard or talked about it in the context of like the United States, which is where we live,
Mhm.
or like Brazil, which is where I'm
Mm.
from. And I feel like
Yeah.
for you probably Haiti, because that's where your family
Mhm.
is from.
Mhm.
So I hadn't really thought about how they would think about or interpret or talk about it now.
Yeah.
But when I was watching, I was like, you're responsible. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
it makes sense that there would be
Mhm.
this much racism now because it's now like being said in other more like covert ways, even though I think a lot of it's
Yes.
still very overt. Um,
I mean, yeah, they showed during the whole Brexit thing and like basically people telling other English people to go back to their countries. I was like, oh, so it's nothing changed compared.
that was another thing too, the anti-immigration stuff. I was like, that's where we get it from in the United
Mhm.
States because I was like,
Yeah.
that sounds like stuff people say in Texas at the border,
Mhm.
you know?
Yep. 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 Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so yeah, I it was interesting. And I don't know if I learned about slavery only in terms of abolition. I'm trying to think.
I, from what I remember, is that it was a very watered down version of what like
Yeah.
actually occurred. I didn't know the like crazy awful details of slavery until I was in like college.
Oh.
Like, but like in elementary school, basically what we learned was that Black people were taken from Africa. They were taken here as slaves. They were slaves for like 200 something years. And then they got free by the Emancipation Proclamation. And then they still had to fight for their rights. And then Martin Luther King. Like, I don't even like, it's
That's
like Emancipation Proclamation, Martin Luther King Civil Rights Act.
mm.
Like, that's essentially
We
what I
read a
learned.
book about Harriet Tubman, I remember, in school.
Yeah. Yeah. We learned about Harriet Tubman too.
And that was very sad. I remember that was like
Mm-hmm.
my first exposure to, because my parents also didn't really know much about like the United States history of
Right.
slavery. So I just remember
Right.
being like hit back to back with these horrible stories
Oh,
and
oh
being 10 and being like,
God.
what? Like, and so then I feel like, but they packed a lot of stuff together. Like you said, it was like Harriet Tubman, and then it was like Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks. And I remember we learned about Jackie Robinson also in the fourth
Mm-hmm.
grade.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't remember, and that was in the 4th grade. I don't know that we learned much else throughout the rest of my, now that I think about it, like middle school or high school. I can't
Yep.
remember like a
Because we
class where it was like
probably
it's
weren't.
mandatory to learn about this.
Mm-mm. We probably, because I'm like, history classes that I remember middle school, it was like world geography, like world history. Those are like the two things I remember from middle school. And then high school, it was like US history. And then like they separated it by like time, like it was like
Mm.
centuries and stuff, or time periods. Um, yeah, like we learned a lot about like the wars and stuff, but like slavery, I'm like, we learned about, okay, the one thing I do remember is we watched that movie in 8th grade about the slaves that fought for like to be free before like the Emancipation Proclamation happened. I can't remember the name of it. It's gonna bother me that I can't remember it,
I'm
but it
sure there
has
are
that.
lots of movies like that too. So I
Right. So we had to watch that. We watched, I think it's called Glory, the one with Matthew Broderick and Denzel Washington, which was about like the first like black like militia or something like during the Civil War, I think.
Mhm.
Um,
I feel like we learn more about like civil rights,
yeah, we
like
learned more about
the
civil
civil
rights,
rights
which is,
era, not so
and
much
then
slavery.
yeah, from how I can remember is like we learned about civil rights, and then like basically it's like from there everything has been good. And
Right.
it's like, no, actually that's a lie. That's wrong.
Right.
Um, so that's kind of like how history has been told to us. Like
Mhm.
black people were slaves, Emancipation Proclamation, civil rights, everything is good now. That's how I can kind of like summarize my history lessons from
Right.
school.
Which is, of course, not true. And it's, of course, so much more recent than people
Mm-hmm.
would like to acknowledge, which
Mm-hmm.
makes it harder
Yeah.
to
Like
establish like what
specific
we should.
details too that I was told that made it seem like it was normal, and then I learned that it wasn't. Like Thomas Jefferson and Sally, what was her name? It started with an H at the her last name started with an H. But essentially she was his slave,
Yeah, I never learned
and
about that.
Sally Hemings, I think, Sally Hemings or something.
Mhm.
But like when I was in high school, I remember my history teacher saying Thomas Jefferson had an affair with her. Like they fell in love and had an affair. But then I was older and I was like, and I learned that actually, no, that's not what happened. They did not
Right.
fall in love because that's not how it worked back then.
Right.
It's very much not consensual.
Right.
And so she had kids by him and they weren't even able to be claimed. So just stuff like that, you know?
Well, it reminds me also of like in a similar thread, the stuff I've learned and then the stuff I did not learn about indigenous people. And
Mm-hmm.
thinking about like learning about like Squanto and like Thanksgiving and all of these like Christopher
Sacagawea.
Columbus as this like great guy who like came over here and was like, let me put
Mm-hmm.
down a flag and build a little house and just live here in peace.
Yep.
Like, no, we then find out that he was insane
Yep.
and killed so many people and
Yep.
was a lunatic.
Yep.
Um, So I feel like it's similar. Now that I'm older, I can look back and be like, "Oh, I remember learning these things," and now
Mm-hmm.
knowing that they're not true.
Yeah.
Um, and that the way that Indigenous people were treated was with a lot of violence and a lot of hatred
Yes.
and
Yep.
genocidal tactics
Mm-hmm.
and ideas.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, so I think both those are two groups of people that have really been like the history has really been
Mm-hmm.
cleansed to like make
Yes.
people not feel as bad, I guess, for
Yeah. Yeah.
their part, their ancestors' part in whatever. So
Yeah. Yeah. And so I thought that was really interesting how they touched upon like the British monarchy and like their history and how even with like the Commonwealth that like they have, which I wrote in my notes, I was like, so the Commonwealth is like the United Nations of formerly enslaved countries of Britain, is what I gathered.
yay.
I don't know if you thought anything else, but I was like, so that's what the Commonwealth is because
I don't think I know what the Commonwealth is because I remember saying out loud like, "What is a Commonwealth? What is the Commonwealth? What does that mean?" So
because how they described it is like it's like England along with like all the countries that they formerly enslaved, and I was like, so it's the United Nations for formerly enslaved countries in
that's
England.
cool.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, no,
um,
I don't really know what exactly that means, but
yeah, I didn't really get it either, but that's what my brain summarized it as because that's what it came off. That's how it came off to me.
yeah.
Um, And so they also go in on this episode about the relationship between the media and the royal family.
Hmm.
And what I found interesting is that they have a royal rotor. So it's like their media roster. Essentially, it's like the publications that they have certain relationships with. So they will give information to specific publications.
Hmm.
Um, and so that they can just release whatever, which I was like, that is so weird.
Yes.
Like you're contracted with the tabloids and like you have spokespeople who talk to the media and they just basically get your news like through that.
Right.
Like what? That is
Which
so
is super
weird.
weird. Super weird.
It's so weird. And so basically they talk about like Meghan and Harry are engaged. And so this is when the media is like basically in a frenzy. I called it like hysteria because I
Hmm.
was like, like there were things that she was describing that I was like, so no one in their mind, like specifically think about like the paparazzi people. I know it's for a check, but like in your head, you are sitting in a car outside of a woman's house
Yeah.
for hours on end. And not at one point, you're like, this is weird. Like, this is very strange. I should not do this.
Hmm.
Like, because she's talking about like the stalking, like she couldn't even like leave her house. Like people were trying to get into her house. They were paying her neighbors off to put cameras in their backyards to like
Right.
film her. I was like, this is insane.
Yeah.
And when she tells the story of like she calls the police because she's like, I'm scared for my life. And like she's like, if a woman came to you and said there are 6 men outside of her house, like that's stalking.
Right.
And they basically told her like, well, we can't do anything because of who you're like getting married to. And
Right.
I was like, what?
Hmm.
Insane.
Absolutely insane. And I totally agree with what you're saying. Like there needs to be at a point where you have the respect for other people, for yourself to realize like morally this is insane. I should not
Yeah.
be doing this. And
Like,
I don't know, it's just so weird because they talk a little bit about like this idea that the public is like paying taxes for you or whatever, which doesn't even
yeah.
apply to Megan and what she was talking about because wasn't that like in Canada or in the United States
Yes.
or
She was
wherever?
literally in Canada.
So I'm like, okay, wait, so you're saying certain people don't get protection because people want to see them? So they have like follow that train of thought through and tell me how that makes
Yeah.
sense. You
And I
know?
was thinking too, like, I was like, well, why didn't the like royal family give her security? Like, wouldn't you think like, well, she's about to get married to the prince. We should make sure that she's okay.
Right.
But of course, we learn now they don't care.
No.
But like, I was like, why didn't they just give her her own like security detail, or like at least make sure there was somebody like guarding the house, like
Mhm.
something. Um, yeah, but that was like so crazy to me, like her
Maybe they were
describing
hoping it would
that.
like scare her away, having to deal with
That's
that on her
true.
own.
That's true too. Because I knew like Harry had to like be in London or something for something, and that's why. And she was also working still, I think.
Hmm.
So yeah, and so then they get into her half sister,
Oh my God,
Samantha
I forgot about
Markle,
that.
and she like she was just I was just watching like this is wild because I
Hmm.
was like, just imagine you have a sibling who is like, first of all, decades older than you. You didn't
Hmm.
grow up with her. Like your parents divorced when you were like 2 or 3, and she only lived with your mom and interacted with your mom's side. And then your sister from your dad's side, who you again have no relationship with, is decades older than you, starts talking to the media about you and
Yeah.
being like, I raised her for 12 years and we have a great relationship. And mind you, this woman's daughter wasn't even raised by her, was raised by
Hmm.
her grandparents. And Meghan has a relationship with her and not
Hmm.
you. Like, and you're out here just talking wild stuff, like for a check, for attention.
Hmm.
Like, I was like, this, first of all, my heart breaks for her niece because I was like, this is really sad.
Yeah.
Like, she must have, because she was saying like she didn't really have that much of a relationship with her mom either. So it's like, it must have been like really exhausting and sad to be like, why are you doing that? You
Hmm.
know?
And that drove them apart for like
Yeah,
years,
because
right?
like the media, because of not only like her mom, but like the media and stuff, like to protect her, she basically was like, I don't think it would be wise for you to like, she couldn't go to their wedding.
Hmm.
Like, she had to basically tell her niece, like, yeah, we can't let you come because all of this frenzy is
Yeah.
going on
Which is
and it would
sad.
just be too much. It's so sad. I was like, this is awful. Like the media like really sucks like a
Hmm.
lot. And yeah. And so then something they touched upon that like made me like really emotional was the Stephen Lawrence murder case. I
Hmm.
think she was talking about how like that was one of the things that they had to go do, like the anniversary of it came up. And I think for me, I was like, I don't, when I think about police brutality, I never think about it happening in other countries. I
Hmm.
always assume it just happens here.
Right.
Um, and so to learn that that happened in England, it kind of reminded me of like the Rodney King situation.
Yeah.
Um, and so like I was just like, wow, like it's really hard being like a person of color, like in spaces where like you're not welcome, like,
Yeah.
or you think that you're safe until you're not, like, and it's like I was like, yo, this is really hard like watching that and like seeing them like kind of talk about it like on the anniversary of it. But I don't know how you felt about that one, but that was something that like I wrote a little. I was like, this is like really, it's really like heartbreaking that it's like, dang, like even you would think like even in modern times like people would just like evolve, adjust, change. And
Hmm.
like it's still like that was a case that happened in like the 90s and like
Yeah.
it's still happening now. And
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think
granted, the 90s are only like what, 20, 30 years from now, but still
over 30. The
over 30.
1990s over
Yeah,
30
yeah, yeah.
now.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's because my brain was like, because I'm about to be 30. So my brain is like, oh no, it's only like 20 something years. It's not,
Mm.
it's like 30 years. Um, but anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's just like has never really ended, and
No.
I think that's what's been, it's so hard to like see that like, dang, it's everywhere, it's not just here.
Yeah, and I think like I said before with the whole like slavery thing, it's learned. It's like learned
Mm-hmm.
behaviors. I
Mm-hmm.
agree. I didn't necessarily think like not that I didn't think police brutality happened other places, I just never thought about it. Like, it was not a thought that had ever happened because I live in America, once again.
Yeah, yeah.
So, when I saw that, I was like, "That's super sad," but also it makes sense because it happened here,
Mm-hmm.
and this is, like, a child of there, so it makes sense that the 2 things would connect, and it's really interesting that it's like Meghan is not from there, but Harry is from there, but Meghan has
Mm-hmm.
more of an understanding of what that experience is like, what that means, and so I
Yeah.
feel like she was able to kind of, like, bring new understanding and
Mm-hmm.
maybe even for him, like, a new level of meaning for that,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. No, that does make sense, especially because she says, like, because of how she looks,
Yeah.
she wasn't treated like a Black woman in America.
Mhm.
Like, and so it wasn't really brought up as a thing until she started dating Prince Harry.
Right.
And so then she started really being treated like a Black woman, like in America, or I guess even in England,
Mhm.
um, of how like the media and like societally, like just how they view like African American women, how they view the Black woman is so harsh, like, or how they view the Black body is so harsh. And it's just like, I think she did have to, because he said like he wasn't really aware of a lot of stuff
Yeah.
either. And he had to go through like this time where he was just like, I need to go out and like see the world and like
Mhm.
see different cultures and like really make myself aware.
Yeah.
Um, because like he was just in this bubble. And so I think Megan did really open him up to different perspectives, different ideas, different causes to be passionate about.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I agree with that. I think I think she did bring something new, and I think it scared the royal family.
Yeah, and it caused him to change too, like you said. Like, one of
Mhm.
the things I really admired about him is how willing he was to be able to admit, like, "I don't know everything. I'm, sheltered. I don't understand,
Mhm.
and I need to seek to understand." Like, even the whole thing that happened with, like, the whole he dressed up as, like, a Nazi or something like that for
Yeah.
a party, which I was
He
like,
it
"Why
wasn't
do
even
you"
he dressed up as a Nazi, he had the swastika,
I was
like,
like,
on
"Why would
his
you" first of all,
and I
why
was
would you
like,
do that?
"Why?" Yeah, even when I saw the picture, I was like, "But why?"
You should
Like,
have
even
known this was a bad
nah,
idea.
yeah. I was like, I feel like that's, like, a universal thing that people are like, "You shouldn't do that."
Right. Black people, white people, everybody else alike.
Right.
It's universally like that's not good. But despite that really terrible choice, he was able to like own up to it and be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I did not realize that like I could think that I know about the world because I've traveled, but that doesn't mean I understand what other people's experiences are like. That doesn't mean I understand when something is like offensive or when it's not." Um, so I thought that was nice, I guess, that he's
Yeah.
open to growth, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. I think it's awesome. That's why I just love them so much too.
Mhm.
I'm just like, you guys are just so great. Um, and so then they go into Megan's dad, and this man, I don't know how, well, I know how I would describe him, but I'm not gonna say the word that I want to say. So I'm just gonna say that he sucks.
Mhm.
Um, for him, like for him to be so caught up in whatever was going on with the media, for him to get paid by the media to take paparazzi pictures and like just all this stuff, like
Yeah.
doing interviews and all of that, like for what?
Right.
Like, especially because it was like he was already supposed to go to the wedding, like he was gonna be there, like she wanted him to be there and walk her down the aisle. And
Mhm.
then she finds out like days before that you're doing this. And so when she reaches out to you, you ignore her and then like basically stop speaking to her
Yeah.
ever again.
It doesn't make sense. Like, to me, I think it's very clear that there is something that we don't know.
Yeah,
You know,
because
like
there was like this mystery aspect of it where she was trying to
yeah.
text him And the person replied like Meghan, and she's like, he's never called me that. Like, she's like, this
Yeah.
isn't my dad. And I was like, that's really weird. That's kind of
Right.
scary. Um, and like even later they say in like other episodes too, where it's like, she's tried to like reach out to him, and then like she sent like the letter, which we'll get
Hmm.
into after, and then like the signature wasn't even his signature. And I'm
Yeah.
like, does somebody have this man captive? Like,
Right.
what is going on? I was like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah.
that is just so weird.
It's super weird. And I'm not saying that to absolve him of any responsibility because he's a grown man,
Right.
but it does
Yeah.
seem like maybe somebody offered him money or got in his head and then was like, oh, let
Mm-hmm.
me answer this, for you. I just
Yeah.
can't imagine choosing money, fame, media over your child. I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
And I don't even
Especially
have
because
kids.
it seemed like they had a good relationship.
Yeah, it's
From what she
very
said,
confusing.
she never said like, oh, my dad was never in my life. Like, no, they were very close. So
Yeah.
I was like, that is so odd to me.
I wonder if it has anything to do with like the other daughter, the half sister.
Oh,
If
maybe,
there's any
maybe
collaboration or like manipulation that happened, or
it
I
could
don't
be.
know. And maybe we'll never know. But it is extremely sad that that's like a huge person in her life that she lost. Um,
Yeah. And this is
lost and is still alive.
days before
Yeah.
her wedding.
Yeah.
I was like, I couldn't even imagine. Like, he just literally has never spoken to her again.
Yeah.
So sad. And that's basically how like episode 3 ends, essentially, like learning
Right.
that about her dad, like 2 days before the wedding. Or he basically stops talking to her 2 days before the wedding.
Right.
And so episode 4, the wedding, May 19th, 2019,
My
Harry and
favorite.
Meghan get married. So this wedding,
Was it in
like,
2019? Was it not
yeah.
2018? Oh.
Oh, 2018. No, you're
Oh,
right. It is 2018. I wrote the wrong date. I got too excited. It's
that's okay.
2018. So they get married, and this wedding, I remember watching it.
It
Like,
was early too. I remember for some
yeah.
reason I either couldn't sleep or I woke up really early. And I was like, "Oh, the wedding is on." And I sat
Mm-hmm.
downstairs on my computer watching it live. So when I was watching the videos back, there was a part of my brain that was like, "I was there." And I'm like, "You were not. You watched it on TV. You were not there."
This implanted memory. No, I was in the
I was sitting
church.
next to Idris Elba. I was sitting between Idris Elba and Oprah.
No, like that wedding was iconic. It was
Mhm.
beautiful. I do remember watching it, like, and being like, wow, like Harry adores her.
Yes.
Like,
When she gets up there and he whispers something like, you can see him mouth like, "You look
mhm,
beautiful," or something like that.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, "She does."
And that was actually like my first sort of like, not, I guess, introduction to Meghan, because like before that I wasn't really paying attention. I saw that they got engaged and I was like, oh, that's cute,
Yeah.
but I never paid attention to any of like the other stuff that was like coming out about her.
Mhm.
So when they got married, I was like, oh, I'm so excited. Harry's about to marry a black girl, period. We're winning. Love it. And so I was like watching and I was like, wow, she's so pretty. Like she seems just so like gentle and like kind and warm. And I just remember being like, yo, he married someone like his mom. Like
Yes.
I remember watching them like interact, and I was just like, I just feel like he married someone like Diana. And I was
Mhm.
like, this is making me cry.
Yeah.
It was just so like beautiful. Um, and so one funny thing that I had noted, because she talked about like interacting with Prince Charles and being like, he's just so charming. And I was like, Prince Charles is charming because, hashtag Team Diana. I was
Mhm.
like, okay,
Mhm.
maybe I'll take it, I guess.
Right. Well, I think she
But
also needed like a father figure in her life
yeah,
at the time, given what had just happened with her dad.
that's true. That's
So,
true.
and
I will give her
I'm
that.
sure that he is very like cordial to people that he's met like out
Mm-hmm.
in public because that's how he was
Yeah.
raised to be.
Yeah.
So I guess I could see how.
Yeah. I was like, sure. But anyway, and so basically I just went, my notes on this section was basically just like me just being like, wait, Serena Williams was there? And then I
Right.
learned that she and Serena Williams are besties in
She's
real
so
life.
cute.
Love it.
Two
And
great
then,
women.
okay, iconic, goat. Okay. And so, and then I was like, wow, she like made this wedding like black. And I remember that because I was like, she had a gospel choir
Hmm.
there.
And they were
The,
singing for their lives.
okay,
They really were.
like 8, no crumbs,
Yeah.
killed it. And then even the pastor or the priest who like did
He
like a
was
little sermon was
a
black.
reverend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I was like, they got black people in
Right.
this church. I was like, this was so great.
This is Sunday
Uh,
morning.
right. Like I was like, this is so awesome. Because from what I remember about William and Kate's wedding, I was just like, oh, it was just
Did you watch it?
I did.
I don't remember. I don't think I watched it.
I remember watching it because I was like, oh, Prince William's getting married. That's cool.
Hmm.
But like, I wasn't invested in them because I was just like, cool, he's getting married. That's awesome.
Wait, can I put in a quick side note about William and Kate? They were in
Yes.
Boston a couple of days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
like, and I live in Massachusetts, for those of you who don't know. Ariel used to live here. She has since left us for the South.
Wow.
And the reactions of people to royal family being here were so funny
It was
because
great.
people here just don't, I don't know if the British realize how much we don't care
Not
about
at all.
them at all. Also, like Boston is like the cradle of like the revolution. Like
Right.
Boston Tea Party, like Sam Adams, all of this
Right.
stuff.
Right.
And so I was watching these like clips of like Celtics players, I think, being
Mm-hmm.
interviewed. Did
Mm-hmm.
you see that?
Yes.
And
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
they were asked like they kept asking them, what did you think um about having the royal family here today? And then one of the guys was like, it was just any other game. And the second guy said, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. That's the only royal family I know.
Yes.
Like, that's hilarious. I have a professor who's English,
Mm-hmm.
and I had asked him, like, are there any other English people in Boston? And he was like, no, I knew one guy, but they left. And he was like, honestly, there are lots of reminders in Boston to the British that we are not welcome here. Like anywhere that you walk, it's like a statue that says like, and this is where the British were defeated. And this is another place where the British were defeated. And I was like, that is hilarious.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is so funny. Yeah, and I think also too is just like I feel like after Diana passed, we stopped caring. Like it was just kind of like, okay,
I've
what
never
up?
cared.
What?
Not a day in my life. Just about Diana specifically, like you said. And now Meghan.
Yeah, right. And now Meghan and Harry, that was literally me. I was like, oh, we really don't care about y'all like that.
Right.
Like we have such another like celebrity sphere in America that it's like we don't have time to think about y'all across the pond. I'm so sorry.
Right. It's a relic.
But
It's like a relic to me of like
mhm,
a world that was once appropriate and is no longer appropriate.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you telling me that have the God-given right to rule over the entire world just does not sit with me the way my ancestors might have heard that same phrase.
Right,
So,
right.
so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyway,
no.
back to the
I
wedding.
get back to the wedding. That was iconic. They
Mhm.
had Elton John there.
Mhm.
Like, are you kidding?
Right.
And then Idris Elba was their DJ.
That's so
Okay.
cool. That's literally so
Like,
cool.
who can say that besides them? Idris Elba DJ'd my wedding.
Hmm.
What?
Right.
I would
Unforgettable.
have
An unforgettable.
loved to be there.
I danced
It
with
was
Elton John to a song that Idris Elba was DJing
like
while Oprah
I would
watched
have
from the corner.
loved to be I would have loved to be at that reception. Oh my God. It looks like it was a time.
It
Okay. It looks
does.
like everyone enjoyed themselves.
They look happy. They look so
Yes.
happy. So, and I like that they incorporated a lot of moments in this docu-series. Of course, like the serious moments, but they also
Mm-hmm.
make sure to show us like, and we love each other, and we were still able to
Yes.
find joy in
Mm-hmm.
all of it because I feel like that's important to the
Yes,
story.
that is very important. Yes. Um, and so yeah, so then after that, they kind of start talking about like what like their life looked like being part of like the institution
Hmm.
and stuff. And Like one thing they said was like Oprah came for tea, and I was like, Oprah came for tea? That is insane.
Casually.
Casual. Um, but like just seeing like Megan still being herself, like just what she's passionate about, like helping women and like
Hmm.
going to the shelter and like making the cookbook with them. And I was just like, she just
Love
seems like
that.
such a gem, you
Love.
know, like she is a girl's girl. Like she just loves to see people like thrive and like
Hmm.
do better. And I love that. And then for the media to take that and twist it into something like just crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, she was helping women who were displaced, and you guys are making it like some totally different thing to
Linking it to
compare some of these
terrorism.
women to ISIS. I was like, you guys have got to be kidding
You
me.
are out of your mind.
Out
Absolutely out of
of
your
your
mind.
minds. And then like when she was pregnant, like they just like the comparisons between her and Kate, like showing like the articles of what the articles were coming out when Kate was pregnant compared to her, like comparing their baby bumps, comparing how Kate touched her stomach was like, oh, she's being so motherly. And then Meghan touching her stomach was she's obsessed with being pregnant. She's
Right.
obsessed with her bump. And I was like, what pregnant woman doesn't touch her bump? Like, what? What
Right.
are we talking about? Like, and then at some point I'm just like, at some point you have to look at the, at least as like a consumer, as like a regular civilian, if I'm seeing all these tabloids coming out, at some point I'm going to be like, y'all have to be making some of this stuff up, because like some of the stuff they were saying I was like,
That doesn't
this
make any
doesn't even
sense.
make sense.
You would
Like
think, but you have like an education and basic sanity, you know? So, because like my sister and I were walking through this store the other day and we saw something, some crazy thing on, like, you know how when you go to like Shaw's or something, it has like
yes,
all the
I put that
magazines.
in my notes. I literally was like, when I think of like
Where to think.
tabloids, right? When I think of like tabloids, I'm like, I think of when I go to Walgreens and I see like the National Enquirer and like
And it says
the
some
magazines that
crazy
no one
stuff
really buys, that they
on the
just
front of it.
saying the most outlandish
And we like to be
things.
like, oh, what are the odds that that's actually true? And Stephanie was like,
Right.
1%. There is a 1%.
I'm like, how do people actually believe any of this?
But
Like,
there are certain people, like I even think about like people who I know who will like share stuff on
mm-hmm,
Facebook and they're like, look at this person saying this, it must be true. And the person's like, well, like I think about like COVID and misinformation. The person will be like, I'm a doctor. And like just this person saying I'm a doctor is not enough to me for me to then be like, yes, what they're saying is true. What they're saying is true about epidemiology because they could be a, you know, the completely different kind of doctor
mm-hmm,
and not know
mm-hmm,
anything about
mm-hmm.
COVID. So I do think there are people who are like really gullible. That's like just because someone wrote it, it must be true. They must have a credible source, and not
Anybody
everybody
can
has the
write
critical thinking
anything.
skills to be
No,
like, is
not at
that
all.
true? So,
Even when things are like fact checked, like even when things have like
mhm,
literal proof, people will still be like, well, I just don't believe that. And it's
yeah.
like, okay, fine. Okay.
Do
At
you
that point, you're just
remember?
like,
It's like messed me up so much. Do you remember when the ocean caught fire because of that oil spill that happened like
mm-hmm,
during COVID?
mm-hmm.
And it literally
Yes.
looked like the gates of hell had been opened in the ocean. I saw
Yes.
that on Twitter and I was like, this is not real. And but then a bunch of people in the replies were like, this is real. So then I Googled it and it was like a bunch of credible news
Mm-hmm.
sources had posted about it. And I was like, oh my God, the ocean is on fire. But like, it took me like multiple sources and like videos to
Yeah.
believe that it was true. But not everybody has that common sense. Be
No.
like, let me
People will
look into
see
this.
things, people will see things at face value and be like, all right, well, that must be it then. And sometimes it's just not how things work at
No.
all.
Yeah.
So then we get into pretty much like the darker parts of what they experienced with like the
Hmm.
media. And what I took from it was that like Harry was determined to like get out of there. He was
Yeah.
determined to break the curse that took his mom. Like
Yeah.
he was like, yeah, no, we gotta go. We gotta get out of here because like it's getting insane. And the things that they talked about that like people were saying like on the internet, I was like, you like the things that the media was releasing, I was like, you guys, like, how do you sleep at
Yeah.
night? Like, and it's just like the power of words, like you know, the Bible says the power of life and death is in the tongue. And I know these aren't like spoken, but I'm like, what you put out there matters. Like they have an impact on people.
Right.
Like this is one woman taking like the flack of like all this media nonsense and garbage, and like a lot of it is just so like judgmental and critical and negative, like to the point that it was messing with her mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was literally like having suicidal ideation,
Yeah.
like and no, like it's insane. And like, and no one in the royal family cared. Like it
Yeah.
was like they didn't even care. Like, and then I remember like earlier in the episodes, like Harry had said, like, basically they were saying, like, well, we all had to go through it. So she just kind of has to like deal with it. And he
Mm-hmm.
was like, what they're not like understanding or realizing is like, yeah, but like she's a black woman. Like if
Right.
you don't see want to see the comparisons, I don't know what to tell you, is what he
Right.
said basically. It's
Basically.
just like this is different. This is a whole different level, because there was, I don't even remember any articles about Kate Middleton. Like all
Just
I
that she had
remember is
nice
that,
style and people liked her and she was cute. That's literally all I remember hearing about her.
yeah, and that like they, and how her and William met, like just like their story. That's all I knew about them. And then for some reason they had a weird obsession with her sister and her butt at the wedding. I just remember that.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was like weird. It was like people were like obsessed with how like good her sister looked in her dress, and I was like, okay.
All right.
But anyway, but just again, but that's like lighthearted stuff. It's not
Yeah.
like they were so hella critical of her and
Right.
stuff.
Well, this is all
Um,
after the Australia thing too, is it? Or was this before?
yes.
Which I thought
Mm-hmm.
was so interesting that there was like the parallel between that and his mom once
Mm-hmm.
again, that it was like
Yep.
almost this exact same situation repeating
Yep.
itself again. And we know,
Yeah.
I feel like didn't I think Diana had like a suicide-ish attempt.
Yeah,
She threw
she,
herself
I
down
don't
the
know if it was
stairs.
I don't know. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know
She
if it was an
like,
attempt to hurt her, like to hurt herself, or to end her life. I'm not really
yeah.
100% sure. Um,
No, but she was also going through it a
for
lot.
sure. So you would think that by then it's like, okay, well, people struggle in this family. We need to have more mental health precautions. But the
No.
fact that she asked for help and was denied it, to me is it's like abusive behavior.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Imagine somebody coming to you and saying, I am, especially because we're both mental health professionals, that drove me insane. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I am, I'm at my wit's end. I need help because I'm thinking about ending my life. And you being like, no, what's more important actually is our cover. So just get it together. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I didn't think about that. Just getting it together. That's so helpful. That's so
Right. Let
thoughtful,
me
I guess.
just pull myself together. Let
Just
me go brush my hair. Yeah.
unsuicidal. Everything is
Yay.
fine. Okay.
So yeah, like just seeing that and like the dynamic between the family and the media was just interesting.
Right.
And then like Harry kind of talks about his slight drama with like his brother, and I was
Hmm.
like, T.
Right.
I was like, ooh. He was like, you know, like they're willing to like lie about things like for my brother, but like when it comes to me and my wife, like they just didn't care. And I was like, what's the tea?
Right.
Harry, what's the tea? Tell us, please.
Hmm.
um, but what's funny about that is that like I remember seeing like a few years ago on Twitter, like people had said like Prince William was like cheating on Kate Middleton with like her best friend
Yeah.
at some point. And so that's why when he said that, I was like, ooh. I was
Mm.
like, maybe that's what it was about.
I don't know.
But we don't know.
Right.
And then they talk about Meghan being pregnant with Archie, and
Just
he's
like the
the
cutest.
cutest child.
I love
Like,
him so much. He's so cute.
even when they started the documentary with him talking, I was like, I can't do this.
I would die for
Like,
this child. I just know.
literally, I would die for him. What? I was like, oh my God.
He's ginger
Like,
as heck, too. I'm like,
oh
what?
yeah.
Why are all your
Yeah.
kids so redheaded? I thought that gingerness was supposed to skip
Right.
generations.
Because they describe their daughter as like blue eyed with red hair. And I'm like, all the
These genes
recessive
were strong.
genes.
Oh my God. They were powerful genes.
I think Archie's hair has gotten a little darker though as
Oh,
he's gotten older.
that's really sad.
Um I think I saw when they were celebrating Lilibet's first birthday, he had like his hair was a little darker.
Got
You
it.
could see a little bit of a red tint, but it looked a little brown.
Still
But
so cute though.
so adorable. Um, and so what was interesting too was again that thing, like when the things that we see, we don't realize how set up they are.
Yeah.
Like 2 days after giving birth, she had to go do the thing where they like have her walk out like with the baby. And I was like, 2 days?
Well, it was supposed to be the
The
day,
day, right.
which is insane to me that that was ever an expectation. You are like, sometimes people, especially if they have a C-section or if they had any kind
Mm-hmm.
of tearing,
Complications.
they've
Yep.
had surgery. Some people can't even walk for multiple
Yep.
days, and if you can, you're in pain. Like, I don't understand why the expectation is get up, get dressed, wash your hair, go out and look nice with this child. That is yours and not the
And
public's.
also, it's like, it's so entitled.
Yeah.
It's like, we're entitled to access to your newborn baby.
Is that even safe too? It's like you're
Like,
coming
that
out and
is
exposing your
weird.
baby, your newborn baby who's like 3 hours old, to like all these germs of the outside
Like,
world.
for a picture.
Right.
So magazines and tabloids can be like, ooh, new baby, new royal baby. It was just so ugh to me. I was like, this is so like invasive and frustrating. And just like, it's just so like the entitlement of like the media.
You owe
And
us. Come out.
like, like
You
you
can't
have
even
to show
give
us
birth at
your
the hospital
kid.
that you want to because it doesn't have the steps and blah 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 blah.
I was like, what? So yeah. And that's what I wrote like in some of my notes here. I was just kind of like, the entitlement of the media is just like disgusting.
Thing. Yeah.
And everything that she said, they wrote an article for every word, everything she like, they would just take pieces of something she said in an interview and write a whole article about it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is so similar to Princess Diana that it was like making me sad. Like,
Yeah.
I was literally like, this is so sad. Like, and no one who has the power to be like, yeah, we need to just, y'all need to just chill out. Like, you need to just calm down. Like, did anything. Like, they just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, this is awful.
Yeah. They're like entertain. It kind of reminds me of like the movie Nope, as disturbing as I found that movie to be. It's like you're
Yeah.
entertaining the beast, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's killing people. Literally, it's
Mm-hmm.
killing people.
Yep.
Um, and part of that is like our desire for like spectacle and to like feed into it. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like the more you feed it, the more it grows. It becomes this
Yeah.
monstrous thing where people are like, "Well, you've done it in the past. You've never set boundaries with me before. So why would I
Mm-hmm.
expect you to do it now? And when you do, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
gonna bully you for it."
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, it's
Yeah. And
crazy.
so basically that's how episode 4 kind of ends. They talk a lot about how the media just like would not relent on
Mhm.
them. And so then episode 5 gets into this interesting story of how, or not story, but they get into the details of something that happened that I didn't realize happened, was that like Meghan tries to reach out to her dad again.
Yeah.
And so she does it in a way where she's like, I'm going to try to avoid it getting intercepted. So
Hmm.
I'm going to send a
At
letter.
the encouragement of the royal family, I feel like is an
Yep,
important piece.
that is also true. You're right.
Mhm.
And so she writes a letter and she sends it to like her business manager, who then sends it to Mexico where her dad lives. And somehow, we know how, but somehow, mysteriously, the Daily Mail UK gets her letter
Mhm.
and publishes it. But like they publish it in a way where they redact a lot of stuff
Mhm.
that she says and tries to just kind of point out like the mean things, I guess, that she said in the letter, even though she was like, I literally didn't write it in a way that was disrespectful or rude in any way.
And if she had, she would have had the right to because of how her dad had been treating her. Sometimes it's okay to be
Exactly.
mean when someone has been
Exactly.
disrespecting you. I just feel like that's an important point to make. So,
No, I agree. No, I absolutely agree with you. Um, and so then it's like part of that mystery thing that we were talking about. It's like, but then they find out that the person who signed off on it wasn't even her dad because she said the signature wasn't his. And I was like, what is going on? Like, who
mhm.
is this mystery person? We never find out. And I don't know if we ever will, but it's like, it was just so weird. And then I was just kind of like, but then I was also just like, your dad kind of sucks for this too, to just kind of be allowing this to happen.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. Sure, someone could be manipulating you. You could be getting paid for it, but it's like at some point, have some integrity. Like at
Mhm.
some point, have the like courage or the bravery to just like, or get rid of that pride that's stopping you from being like, I'm sorry that I
Yeah.
did that. I should have never done that. Like you said, I would figure like your relationship with your daughter would be more important than
Right.
whatever is going on that's causing you to do this.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if it was a situation where he's like, he needed help or he needed money, like I doubt Meghan would have hesitated. Like she would have definitely helped him out in any way that she could have.
Mhm.
So I'm just like, I just don't understand. Like that
Yeah.
was just so weird.
That must be so frustrating too, to try to have like what should be a personal conversation, a private conversation, and have it like all of a sudden on full view for the entire world to see of something that's like really traumatic and really hard for you to this day. Like I can't imagine what that's like to have your privacy constantly violated and not be able to have anything to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Yeah. Watching this documentary, I was very much like, I would never want to be a celebrity in any capacity. Like, even if you're like, oh, I'd want to be a low key celebrity where like the paparazzi, just the idea that the paparazzi could find me or like my family, I'm like, no, no, I'd rather not.
I want to be like
It's not worth
an
it.
author celebrity where people don't know my face. They just know my name.
Right.
And I could be next to someone on the plane and be like, "That's a cool book that you're reading," and have them be like, "Yeah, thanks. I really like this author." And you'd be like,
Yes.
"Me too. I like her
Mm-hmm.
a lot." And it's me,
Yep.
you know? So,
Yes. I see. I could deal with that, but like
yeah.
just the thought of like, because while I was watching the last episode today, I was thinking about like my sister,
Hmm.
Amber, who
Hmm.
I was just like, if Amber was famous, like to the degree that these people are, not necessarily like Meghan and Prince Harry, because I feel like they're a whole different sphere,
Yeah, it's a different
but
breed.
like, just like our usual celebrities that we see who get like,
Like an
snapped
Ariana
by the
Grande
paparazzi. Yeah. And
situation.
I'm just like, I can't imagine like going about my day, like going to work. Like I drive for work and have to go to like strangers' houses essentially. And some man is following me to like my client's house or like stops in front of my client's house and is like, hey, like, could I ask you a question? I would literally like, I'm working.
Hmm.
Like, please leave me alone and please leave because this is going to violate a lot of laws that could get me in trouble,
Right.
So it's like I can't even imagine like having not just like your own privacy but like your family's privacy invaded like
Yeah.
that. Like you're like her mom couldn't even go walk her dog or like do her laundry without
Yeah.
them being there, like.
Like that probably comes with a lot of guilt too. Like what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm putting people at risk, even though it's not you. You never asked for people to harass your family.
Yeah,
Like
right.
the choices I've made have put my mom, who is so cute, by the way. I know we haven't
I
mentioned
love
her. Yeah, I
her.
love her so much. Her
She's
kids,
so sweet.
yeah, all those people are now like at risk because of
Mm-hmm.
a choice that I made.
Yeah. All because she fell in love.
How dare she?
Like,
How dare
good God.
she?
She should have reconsidered, clearly.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just like wild. And so we get into like the institution of the British family in this episode
Yeah,
and how sinister, that's the word that I used.
that's a good word.
I was like, this feels very just like like I just feel uncomfortable, like uneasy,
Yeah.
like at how much control that they had, not just like with the media, but like how they controlled them.
Hmm.
Like at some point, it got to a point where they started feeding stories about Meghan. And I was like, I'm sorry. I was
Right.
like, you what? And then, like, because Harry and Meghan decided that they were no longer going to be a part of the royal family, essentially. They didn't want to do the title thing, I think it was. It was like,
And it wasn't even that was their initial plan. It was like
mm-hmm.
it was the problem was that the lawsuit, because the royal family didn't want to, they kept saying like, oh, we're gonna sue the Daily Mail, wouldn't.
Yes,
So they were like, we're gonna
yes.
sue them on our own. That ended up creating
Mm-hmm.
a whole confusion. And then it was like they kept wanting to move. They wanted to move to like South Africa
Mm-hmm.
or to Canada.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
it
New
got like,
Zealand. Yeah.
yeah, and then it got leaked. And then I think in an email to his dad, because can you imagine emailing your dad formally requesting to
A
move?
meeting.
It's
Yeah. Yeah, he wanted to
so
set up
weird.
like a meeting and stuff about it. And they were like, no. I was like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah. And so, and that, I think that is something that they insinuate that like they leaked, because in that
Mm-hmm.
it's not that they said we want to give up our titles. They said like if it comes to it, we are willing to, if that's in the best interest.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Thank you
you're
for
welcome.
clarifying that. Yeah. So like then it gets to a point where like they tell Harry like he can't see his grandmother.
Mhm.
And I was like, what?
Mhm.
Like, he's like, what do you mean? Like, because he has such a good relationship with her. Like, he
Yeah.
loves her and respects her a lot. And they basically like, well, she's busy all week. So, like, you can't see her.
Right.
And I was like, that's his grandma. Like, what? What are we talking about? And so he says, he's like, that's not what she said to me. And so then he like calls her or they message or something. And she's like, yeah, I didn't realize I had all this stuff. Like, we won't be able to see each other. And it was interesting to me because I was like, so the actual members of the royal family really don't have control over anything. They
No,
are controlled by the institution. They are controlled by the family business.
basically.
The business tells them what to do. They don't run anything.
She literally said, I'm told that I'm busy all week. And I'm like, wait, you're the
Mm-hmm.
queen. You don't get to
Right.
be like, no, I'm not.
No, no,
I'm not going.
no.
Like this isn't like what's that movie, Princess Diaries, where she
No, not at all. And it's like, I was like, this is so crazy. Cause then it gets crazier because Harry says, like, when like, they leave or like they finally kind of announce that they're leaving, it's like, it's saying like there was like a rift between him and William. And then, like, he says, like, there was a statement put out that was supposedly between him and William, but he's like,
hmm
I never even wrote that. Like, I wasn't even part of that conversation.
Right.
And I was like, wait, that's wild. I was like, that's actually really terrifying
Yeah.
to know that this institution could just release a statement and put your name on it without even acknowledging you. They can
Yeah.
say that you said something that you didn't actually say.
Right. Which is
And I
insane.
was like,
Especially because we know that that's not what happened. Like he said, like my brother was screaming at me, you
yep.
know, during that meeting. And then for them to be
Mm-hmm.
like, Harry and William are all good. It's like, no,
Yeah.
that's not what
No.
happened. And you know that, and that's why you're putting out this statement.
Yeah. And so I was like, I support why y'all had to leave. Like, I didn't even understand when the news had first come out because I was like, I don't really get it. What are they doing? They're just leaving. And so I was like, what's the big deal? Like, because I remember it was like they said that they were leaving, but they would still be able to do like their duties. That's
Mm-hmm.
essentially what they wanted to do. They wanted to kind of back out a little bit, but still be a part of like the royal duties, do the Commonwealth thing. They just wanted to be out of like the hair of the media, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And Harry was told, actually, you either are all in or you're all out. Those are
Mm-hmm.
your options. You can't have both.
Right.
And so they chose to be all out. So, and I was like, I support because like I'm not going to put my wife through that. Like that's hell. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to put her through that forever.
Yeah.
Um and they again go into like the crazy stuff that was being said online. Like Megan talks about like their safety manual or something when they were talking to their security
Yeah.
people. and all of that. And she's like, yeah, if you see tweets like this and it says like Meghan should die or something. And she was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like people were saying like insane thing. Like the journal article that came out that this like it said like a DJ or something said that her son should be put down.
Right.
I was like,
How did this even get like, and then you press publish? Like, I don't understand.
like nobody was like, no, we shouldn't say that. Like we shouldn't put that out
Right.
on the air or
Yeah.
like people are literally saying like Meghan should someone should kill her. Maybe it should be me. And I'm like,
And it no, and the interesting thing that they said at this point too, I don't know if it was exactly this point, but it was around this subject. They were talking about how like 77 or something percent of
yeah.
all of the tweets or posts could be
Mm-hmm.
traced down to 83 specific accounts, and
Mm-hmm.
they were circulating to like 12 million people. And I was like,
Yep.
that is crazy. And one of
Is
those people was Samantha Markle, right?
yes.
Which I was like, that is like imprisonable, I feel like, to me.
And what's so crazy to me, like again, it's kind of like this entitlement thing, but I'm also just like, do people not understand that your IP address is public information? Like
I
people can find you based on your IP address.
I think they were saying there were ways that they were like distorting them or hiding them. I don't know
Sure.
much about
But if you
computers,
are
but
the average person just
yes.
tweeting crazy stuff, like who isn't really that tech savvy, because there are a lot of people on Twitter that will just tweet stuff that you're like, why would you
Right.
say that? Not even to that, even not even to that degree, but just like say the most like weirdest stuff that you're like, you shouldn't be on the internet. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like your IP address is like someone can find you based on your IP address. You're on the internet saying that someone should die or
Yeah.
that you should murder them, and you don't think that you can be tracked, like, or you go to sleep at night thinking like, yeah, I really did that today.
Right.
Like I'm so proud of myself. I was a decent human being today because I told someone to kill themselves. Like
Yeah.
I just can't, like, it's like the human empathy part in me that's like, I don't understand how you can type something like that, hit publish or hit send or hit whatever, and just be like, yeah, it's fine.
I think some people are evil. Like, I think that's
Yeah.
the answer to that. I think some
Yeah.
people just they just have evil in their hearts and they don't like I there's no way better way I can explain it than that. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
and I would think like, how could you ever say something like that to somebody? But for other people, it's like what's in their heart is not good. And so it
Yeah.
comes out.
That's true.
Unfortunate.
But just like the effects that it had on Megan too
Hmm.
was so sad. Like she was like, I would be up in the middle of the night, like pacing her halls, just being like, are we really safe? Did we lock all the doors? Did we lock all the windows? Is Archie safe? Is everyone okay? Are we really that secure? And I'm like, I I would have to go live on some island or something. There's like you would have to lock me up because there's no way a normal person could like handle all of that
No.
at all.
Yeah.
Like it was just insane. Like she didn't
Too much pressure.
deserve any of that. Like the royal family should be ashamed of themselves
I agree.
that they allowed her to be treated that way.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no reason why you couldn't put a stop to it.
Hmm.
There's absolutely no reason why you should have put there should be laws put in place like for safety, especially what happened to Princess Diana. Like
Hmm.
there's no excuse
Right.
for the things that she went through for y'all to just be like, well, it's above our heads, like it's the institution. No, like it just there's no excuse.
Right. Yeah. To send her like you said, like a security detail or something, like protect her, make sure that she feels safe. And yeah, I agree. Like no laws being passed is absolutely crazy. It's like you have the authority to tell people no, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or to not feed them information, or even to put out a statement like Harry did at the beginning when he
Yeah.
called out like a lot of these things that you guys are saying are sexist and racist.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And at like the not encouragement of the people around him.
Right.
So,
And so how the episode sort of ends is that like once they basically rescinded their titles and everything, the royal family just like cut them off. Like
mm,
they told them your security will be done by the 31st. And
figure
like
it out.
there's nothing else that we can do from here. And so they were like, huh, well, what are we gonna do?
Right.
And so basically episode 6, the last episode starts where it's like COVID. And Harry's like, yeah, we realized like we have to get out of here because we weren't safe. We didn't have any security anymore. So we were
People knew
basically
their
on our own.
address in
People knew
Canada.
their locations. Like they're like, we have to get out of here. Um, and so basically they just like escaped to America. And like I was like, they're basically like refugees, like
Yeah.
escaping from like civil torment. Like they were like, I gotta get out of here. So they went to California. And of all people in the world,
Right.
Tyler Perry becomes the savior in all of this, which I was like, that
Why
is
is he in
so
this? Like,
random.
yeah.
Of all the people, Tyler Perry was like, I had reached out to Meghan because I had seen what was going on with like her dad.
Yeah.
And he talked about like how when he started becoming successful and stuff, like he noticed that that change in family members happened to him. And I
Mhm.
was like, that is so interesting. And I was going to ask you like what you kind of thought about that because I was like, I the idea of people that know you, that you grow up with, who have seen you since birth, or like whatever your relationship with there is with them, for them to then see you being successful or achieving something that like maybe they never thought you could, or maybe something that they wanted to achieve but never did, but like instead of being supportive, they become this like what's the word I'm looking for? They become really like cold and
Yeah.
like resistant towards you, or like all of a sudden they're like envious, or like they flip a switch and they're no longer like cool with you, or like they think of you in a certain way. And
Right.
I was like, I was like, what do you think about that? Like the idea that your family could do that to you.
Yeah. I think family is like diff I feel like I could definitely see it happening with friends because I feel like
Right. Mm-hmm.
we've seen that happen with friends in our lives, I feel like, or at least I have.
Mm-hmm.
Like people just don't like different things. Like, I don't like that you're succeeding in this area. I don't like that I feel like you're smarter than me or prettier than me or blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. And then people just start acting really rude to you because they want you to
Yes.
be on their low level. So I can only imagine what that would be like. Some people want to commiserate with you, you know,
Yeah.
and they can't handle you succeeding. And so I can only imagine how that would be amplified by like
Yeah.
fame or what people say is like people think is success, not knowing all the other stuff that comes with it. And I guess it's hard for me to think about that happening with family just because I'm so close with my family, and I don't think that my immediate family would ever do anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
That being
Mm-hmm.
said, though, families are crazy, and I've definitely seen families have drama. I've seen drama within my family, so I feel like I could see how any one of the people in my family becoming famous would cause other people to like either start acting mean or start acting like give me money, give me whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think just like that exposes the stability of the relationships around you. And sometimes what takes bigger precedence is like insecurity. Um, and
Yeah, that's
unfortunately
true.
that impacts you. So but yeah, it is sad. But I mean everything happens for a reason because he was able to be there. Like you said, when I remember when I saw like I think I had read something about that in the news, like Tyler Perry.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? Like it's not it's
Like,
not that I expected him to be an evil person. I didn't.
yeah,
I
it's
just
just a very random
was like, not
person.
Oprah? Like I you know what I
Right.
mean? Like
To come to the rescue.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, like, God bless Tyler Perry because he, like, saved them. Like,
Yes.
so he offers them to, like, live at his house. Um, and, like, they just have, like, these amazing, like 6 weeks of like peace.
Yeah.
Like that they describe, like they just get to be a family. They have all these things, like they have this incredible view of where his house is, and like they're just like, this is great, this is amazing. Like we're not where we want to be, like we're not home,
Mhm.
but like, they just get to live the life that they just wanted.
Mhm.
And then it is ruined. And
Mhm.
so Tyler Perry makes a very interesting comparison of the institution to Harry and Meghan, and how he basically is like, it's how abusers act
It is.
with their partners. And I was like, that's right. Because he's like, they cut off everything, basically told them like, you don't get to access us anymore.
Mhm.
Like just the like gaslighting and the manipulation.
Yeah.
Like I was like, that's true. It is a very abusive relationship. Like
Mhm.
they're basically just like, no, like you have to basically submit to our abuse to have this relationship work,
Right.
essentially, if you want to benefit from being in this institution.
Right. And I no
And so
longer
I
want to benefit from being in the institution.
and
So it's
it
like,
angers you now, so now you're punishing me.
right.
So I was just like, this is just so crazy. And I
Mhm.
was just like, I felt so sad for them, because I was just like, every time they feel like they're getting away, it's again like an abuser. It's like you think you're getting away, you think you finally have peace, and then the media comes back again.
Mm.
Somehow they find their location. Somehow they know where they are. And then the swarm of paparazzi starts coming. And it was even making me feel anxious watching like how like Tyler Perry describes, like he had to put up a gate with like a fence and like tarp and everything, and like every day they would look and there'd be like people cutting up the fence to slip in and like I was like, this is craziness.
And for
Like,
him to say too, I have never seen anything like that. He's been a
and
celebrity for a really long time.
yeah, he was like, yeah, I live in this neighborhood with a bunch of other celebrities. We never see this much attention. Like for them to have drone cameras and
Right.
like helicopter. I was like, this is crazy. Like
Mhm.
no one in their mind is saying we should stop. This is illogical. Like this just doesn't make sense to do. These are
Mhm.
people, for God's sake.
Right.
Like just wild. And so then she's talking about the legal case that they have against the Daily Mail, and the audacity of the press. Like she basically is like, yeah, we're suing you guys because that was illegal to
Mhm.
take my mail and publish it. It's illegal.
Right.
And they basically tell her, well, if you want us to drop like the case, or you need to give us like intimate details about like your son, William, Kate, what you guys were doing in Africa. And she's like, what?
Mm.
She's like, first of all, my son wasn't even born yet.
Mhm.
But so now you're trying to like manipulate me, trying to be like, well, if you want us to like drop the case or not, or just like apologize, you have to give us information, which is like the opposite of the point, because her point is you took information that you weren't supposed to have.
Right. I'm not
So why
negotiating
would I
with you.
willingly negotiate
Right.
giving you private information?
Yeah.
Why would I do that? Um, and so like that stress of everything, like she talks about how she miscarried like
It was
during that,
so
which is,
sad. Her friend describing that whole thing too was
oh
like,
my
first of all, can
God.
I say also, I love her friends so much.
Yes.
She is such a good
Yes.
circle of friends around her who are
Mhm.
supportive and encouraging throughout the whole thing. So I'm glad she had someone there with her. But her friend describing like that moment where she like fell to the ground in the aftermath, like
Mhm.
that was absolutely heartbreaking because
Yeah.
pregnancy it's such a sensitive phase of
Yes.
your life.
And it
So
has
many
such
things
a
could cause.
toll on the body.
And so many things could cause a miscarriage, like from certain things you might eat or drink to like a serious like a car crash, or
Mhm.
you know what I mean, or a
Yep.
lot of stress. So
Mhm.
yeah. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna I was like agreeing with you, like it was just really sad. And the thing that you said about our friends is true too. And I was just like, I'm glad I have a good circle too. It makes me appreciate like my friends. And I'm like, I think my friends would do this if I had a documentary like this. I was just like, just how like supportive they were and how they just saw her go through these like really hard times. Like that's
Mhm.
how you know when you have like really true people, when
Mhm.
it's like you're going through this really hard time and like they're just with you in it. Like they're just there whether you like want to talk about it or not. Like the fact that they could have talked to the paparazzi or they took could have talked to the press about what was going on and they were just like, we care more about our friend than like whatever People magazine wants or
Right.
whatever this tabloid wants. Um, which I love. And so she like releases an opinion piece on the New York Times about her miscarriage, and it like, has a lot of support and flooding of support from a bunch of different people. And I want to say that the British media tried to turn it into something negative, but I can't really remember.
I
But
don't
I
remember
think it was
either.
mostly, I think it was mostly she focused on like the positive aspect of it and how a lot of women were really like appreciative of her talking about it.
Yeah,
Um,
because so many
and
women are so
then
weak.
yeah, and then like in 2021 February, she announces her pregnancy with Lilibet. And this is the part where I like started crying because it was like they announced it on Valentine's Day of
Hmm.
2021. And that was the same day that Princess Diana announced that she was pregnant with Harry. And I was like,
It was and they didn't know.
they
That's the
didn't
best part. They
know.
didn't do it on purpose, and then coincidentally, someone sent it to him. Um, and
I
it
was
feels
like,
like full circle. Like I really feel like a lot of this, as horrible as it
mm-hmm.
was meant to happen for some reason that maybe
Yeah.
we don't fully understand yet.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it really did have to do with like Diana. I think she played a really big, I mean, it was a globally impacting thing that happened to
yeah.
her. Like all across the world, people like mourned for this woman, but like that was his mom. Like,
Hmm.
and he saw the effects of what the media did to her. And like, I think that's kind of like what it's like to see, like, I guess if you look at it from like a spiritual aspect of like when you see like generational curses
Hmm.
happening and their effects on like your family, or even if it's like certain people in your family are affected by it, it's like, no, like I can't allow this to keep happening. I can't
Yeah.
allow this to go another generation. Like it can't happen. And I won't let it. I won't let it happen. And
Yeah.
they went through a lot. They went through the fire, the pain, the turmoil, like, and he was still like, I'm not giving up.
Mm.
Like if you guys, he sacrificed again, like his status and title, and was like, yeah, I just don't care.
Hmm.
Like it's just not worth it to me to
Yeah.
lose somebody like this close to me because you guys don't like her because she has a drop of melanin in her skin. Like
Right.
it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was just like, I feel like this really told, it was like a redemption thing to
Yeah.
me.
I
And I
agree.
love how it becomes like a redemption story, like towards the end. And so they talk about the Oprah interview, and how that happens. And of course, when the interview premieres and it happens, Buckingham Palace is saying now they're doing an investigation, or they're like doing some investigation against Meghan for bullying. And I was like, please be so for real right now.
Right.
Be actually so for real. What?
Yeah.
When and where was she ever bullying anybody? When did she have the power to bully anyone?
Right. Well, they're gonna say whatever they need to. I don't even understand why they try anymore because I feel like they have to have awareness that their power is crumbling and nobody believes them. It's
Mm-hmm.
like to me now anything that I hear out of the monarchy, I'm like I don't believe that. I think that's a
Nope.
lie.
Yep.
So
I don't
I
care.
I don't
Nope.
care. One, and I don't believe it. Two.
Don't believe it
So
at all.
yeah.
like Harry and Meghan have proven that y'all are liars. So at this point, everything y'all say is just not, it's just not true.
You also don't need to you don't need to tell me that the British monarchy is built on we know what you've done.
Yeah.
Of your history.
We are all living the
One of my
effects.
favorite scenes in the whole docuseries, I don't remember what part it was. It was when it was like a montage of all the countries that were declaring independence. I literally was like, period. Like
Yep.
laying in my bed
Yep.
watching it. And all of
Yep.
that was recent. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
the countries that declared independence in Queen Elizabeth's lifetime, I remember I did the math. It was like really high. It was like
Mm-hmm.
I want to say between 50 and 80, but I don't 100% sure.
Mm-hmm. No,
No.
but yeah, I think I was like dying laughing during that. It was like Barbados was like, no, we don't see you as the head of our state anymore. And Jamaica said, period, we're on that train too.
Right.
You
And
are
you see
no
Charles sitting
longer.
there like
I was like, period,
I was like,
because
why do we still own colonies and things like that in the good Lord's year 2022? Like, what's happening? So, yeah. But I
yeah.
think I agree with everything you said before too about generational curses. And weirdly, a person that points that out is Beyonce, which is a woman
Yes.
I love because like she just is like Beyonce texted me and Harry goes, "What?" I don't know why, but the fact
No,
Prince
because
Harry of Wales reacting to Beyonce like that
like I
is
said,
so
she is the
funny.
celebrity of celebrities. Like
That was
everyone is always like shocked by her. Okay. And like casually just text her. She's like, I didn't even know she knew who I was. And I'm like, first of all, Meghan, please be for real. But secondly, what? That is
right.
crazy.
It's insane. But yeah, what she said, getting like past the shock of Beyonce texting her,
Mm-hmm.
what she said was like really, really beautiful and really powerful. It was something
Mm-hmm.
like, I feel like you've been chosen to break a generational curse. And I agree. And I think
I
part of the
agree.
reason why we all love this love story so much is because it's like through so it's survived through so much adversity. It's like not the
Mm-hmm.
really cute, like we showed up to the Met Gala and like here's us doing like this cute thing. It's like been really ugly. And it's like, what are
Yeah.
you willing to sacrifice to be with your family? And the answer for them is everything, which is
Mm-hmm.
like not something I feel like you find super often these days. I mean,
Yeah.
even if you look at like celebrity couples, we talked about this before, their divorce rates are
Mm-hmm.
like exponentially high. The divorce rate in America
Mm-hmm.
is exponentially high.
Yeah.
So we don't have as many people like willing to choose to choose each to find the right people first of all, because I think a
Yeah.
lot of marriages end in divorce because people are with the wrong person,
Yes,
but
I agree.
also to like do what it takes to stay together. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's like the beauty of the story.
Yeah. They give me the vibe of a couple that's gonna last a really long time.
I agree forever, like until they
Yeah.
die.
Yep.
So,
I see it. I can't wait. And I
mhm.
think what's also awesome about this too is that like I feel like since then, like we haven't really seen anything about them. At least I haven't.
No, just the
I'm just
Oprah
like,
interview, and now
mm,
this.
yep. And I'm like, I love this for them. Honestly, I really do. Um, oh, another thing that happened, was it post interview they released the statement, the palace released a statement, and then like at the same time Harry gets a text from his brother.
He got a text from his brother.
It was
I
like
remember it
some
was like
statement they released comes out.
I remember it was like right, it might have been the interview because I remember it was like a moment that the camera people filmed.
Mm-hmm.
So it might have been post interview. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
And I don't
I
remember
think
if
that's what
he said what the text
he didn't. But
was.
Megan was like, oh, like she like read, she was like, what am I reading? And then she read it and was like, oh, she's like, Harry just got a text from his brother. And I was like, T?
Right.
I was like, ooh. So I'm like, so it seemed like I was like, maybe he didn't text him something very kind. I
Doesn't
don't
seem that
know.
way.
Doesn't seem that way. It seems like they still very much don't have a very good relationship.
Mm.
Oh, what cracked me up was the clips of I think it was William and Kate were visiting somewhere and the interviewer like he asked me about the interview. He was like, what did you think of the interview? Have you talked to your brother about it? And he's like, no, there hasn't been a conversation, but there will be. And then the interviewer's follow-up question was, is the royal family a racist family? And I was like, okay.
Right, because he's gonna be like, yes, it is.
Right. And
What
he
did you
was like,
expect him to say?
no, we are not a racist family. And I was like, I mean, duh, of course you're gonna say that. Like,
Don't ask him a
I
dumb
thought that was so
question.
funny.
Like,
I was
yeah.
like, what? Why would you ask him that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then part of that was just kind of like, dang, like Harry seems so family oriented. And it's like really sad how his family treated him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's just very about his family and like being close with like his grandparents and like, just trying to always be a good kid, be a good
Yeah.
royal. And like for his family to just kind of treat him like that, it's just like, ugh. Like
Yeah.
I hope Harry is in like extensive and intensive therapy because he has been through a
So
lot.
much. Oh my
And
God.
to have to relive traumatic things over and over again is also just like,
Yeah.
like his childhood friend talking about when his grandfather died
Mm-hmm.
and like him having to walk behind the car. Like I can't even imagine how like triggering that was
Right.
to like be like, I did this when my mom died.
Yeah. And then to have
Like,
to do it not long after when the queen died,
yep.
because that
Mm-hmm.
was like a year or
Mm-hmm.
so later. That was like recent, like September or something like that.
Yeah.
It was like right
Yeah.
at the beginning of school. Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's what's that expression? The heir and the spare. Isn't that what they say?
Mm-hmm.
So
And
it's
they
like,
call him a spare, I think. His
yes.
book is coming out. It's called
Oh,
Spare.
oh, interesting. Wow,
Mm-hmm.
look at that. Timely.
Yep. He
That's
called his book that's coming out is called Spare, which I'm
I
like,
definitely have to read
gonna
it.
get that.
But yeah, so I think it's like what he said, they're used to protecting one and the other, and it's like, do whatever, just don't embarrass us. But if you
Mm-hmm.
do, it'll be on you. It won't be on us. It's like,
Yeah.
well, that's really messed up. And it is sad, especially because you and I are both close to our siblings. So it's sad
Mm-hmm.
to imagine like that something stupid would drive him
Yeah.
apart from his sibling. Like I know that
Mm-hmm.
would make me sad if it's like I don't talk to my sister
Absolutely.
anymore because she doesn't like that the person I'm married to is X, Y, or Z. That
Mm-hmm.
would be horrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
One, because I'd be like, wow, my sister is racist. And two, I miss my
That,
sister.
but also it's like it's basically like, oh, my brother doesn't want to fall in line to like the rules of our family. I'm
Hmm.
like, that's ridiculous to me to
Yeah.
break off a relationship. But I mean, we don't fully know the ins and outs
Yeah.
of the institution and all of that. So, but it's just crazy, just crazy.
Yeah.
And so then Lilibet is born.
Lilibet
And
Diana.
yeah, Lilibet Diana, can't forget, love. Um, and Tyler Perry is her godfather,
It's so cute. It makes
which
sense.
I'm just, yeah, no, it absolutely makes sense. But I was just like, that's so cute. And then I loved how he was like, we're not gonna have a ceremony with them, right? Like, can we just do something here? Like, and I was like, me. I probably would have been like, do we have to do everything with them? Because I'm not trying to
It
do
was
that.
literally like, if we have to, like, I guess I'll go, but I would prefer not to, just so we're clear.
Yeah. And then Meghan gets justice. The Daily Mail apologizes, they drop the case and they win their case. And I'm
They
like,
did not apologize.
well, whatever, they didn't
They
apologize.
acknowledged that they lost.
Yes.
But I am
But
happy.
justice was served. I
Yeah.
said, we thank God for justice because that they deserve that.
Even in the first
Um,
time before this decision, because this was like the appeal verdict, the first time when the judge like didn't even let it go to trial and was just like,
mm-hmm.
I've heard the deed, I've heard enough, and I'm siding in on Megan's side, in Megan's favor.
Yeah.
Yeah, in
Mm-hmm.
Megan's favor. I was like, wow, that's I love that for her. This
Yep.
this is good justice.
Yep. Loved that. And so like it basically ends with like kind of like this. I had like chills at the end and I was like crying because I was just like, it was really moving to like see them be redeemed, like see
Yeah.
their redemption, be that like the years that they've struggled. And like this started like 2016, 2017,
Yeah.
and we're in 2022. Like the
Mhm.
last like 5 years have been like really hard for them.
Mhm.
And it was really awesome to see them being able to kind of live their lives the way that they dreamed of it.
Yeah.
And that like made me really emotional. And then like the other thing that made me emotional was just thinking about like dang, like I wish Diana had had the same fate. Like Harry was able to save his wife and get out, and I was like, and I wish Diana had like the same fate. Like,
Mhm.
and I like wonder what kind of life she would have lived. Like, I wonder what kind of grandmother she would have been, like, like maybe she would have lived in California with them. Like, I don't know, like, and it just kind of like made me like a little emotional because I was just like, dang, like if only it turned out differently for
Yeah.
her. I wonder what would have happened or what she would be like now. Um, but it just ends on such like a beautiful note of them like being a family and stuff. So that was Harry and Meghan, y'all. That was
Yeah.
all of that.
There's
So what
like
did
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, like, what were your like feelings, overall thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it's like stuff we already knew, we just didn't know specific details of.
Hmm.
So it was like infuriating. It really shows that things need to change. And like I said, I think all of this happened for a reason. And I
Hmm.
almost wonder if what you said about Princess Diana, obviously, it would be really great if she were still alive today. And I do think she would be living in America with them. I think that's my
Hmm.
theory. But if she hadn't died, I wonder if Harry would have had the same view of the
Mm,
institution and of the media that he had because it was such an extreme situation. So who
right.
knows if they would have ever left the family and cut ties with the family, if he would have ever met Meghan in the first place, or if he
Yeah,
would have
that's true.
allowed himself to be groomed to be something like his
Mm,
brother. So I don't
mm.
know. Like it's little changes that like if you go back in time, you change one thing, your entire
Yeah, yeah.
trajectory changes. So I don't know, but I think the majority of it really focused on their love and like they kept saying the phrase like love wins, and I love
Hmm.
that expression. I was like, this is really beautiful. And there's this one scene. It's not a movie. There's this one part of the docuseries. It's like a video that he took when they were riding bikes, and it's like the millennial angle from like up here,
Yeah.
and they're
Hmm.
like on bikes, like just biking down some road in California.
Yeah.
I was like, this is beautiful to me. Just watching them like laugh and bike because I know
Hmm.
that if they were still part of the royal family, there's no way they'd be allowed to do this. Just be
I
out
know.
and about in public, just riding bikes like down the road
Yep.
with not a care in the world.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It's like it was worth it. It's very inspiring to know that like
Yeah.
there are things that are worth fighting for, and also like you should not settle for people who aren't worth who aren't not worth aren't what's the word who aren't I'm like the word is escaping me who aren't ready, aren't prepared, aren't willing. That's the
Hmm.
word I was looking for.
Yeah.
They're not willing to fight for you, you know.
Yeah.
Um because I feel like one of the most beautiful things about Harry is like he's a protector. I said that to you.
Yep.
Like
Hmm.
he will do anything to protect his family. And that's
Yeah.
I love that. I really
Yeah.
do. So I just ended it feeling like I love them.
Hmm. That's
And
how I
I
started, and that's how I ended.
that's how I at no point was my love for them ever in
Mm-mm.
question. It wasn't. And they're just cool. They're like two people who were living their lives, doing great things, pursuing their calling, and then they happened to meet each other coincidentally and their callings
Yeah.
lined up. And she didn't care
Hmm.
like about any of what he was doing
No,
with
not at
like
all.
his royal status. She didn't care at all. She's American. Like there's
Yep.
nobody I feel like that'll humble British monarchy like an American.
Right.
Especially like a black American. I feel like that's like a
Yeah.
whole other a whole other layer
Whole nother
to
thing. Yep.
it. um so I loved it. I really did. I didn't end it feeling like sometimes documentaries make me feel mad and then I'm mad for the next like
Hmm.
5 days. But this one I was like, no, it was good, you know?
Yeah. No, there were definitely parts that frustrated me,
Yes.
but overall I was just like, no, this is great. Like I think like I said, I think I told you I was like, I am now like hyper fixated on them right now. Like I
Mhm.
currently listen to Megan's podcast, like when I'm driving to like different clients'
Mhm.
houses and stuff. And it's pretty good, called Archetypes. I think you'd like it.
Mm.
And so I just, yeah, I was just like, yo, they're so great. And they just seem like genuinely kind, like warm people. Obviously, I don't know these people. I've never met them, but just like how they present themselves, it didn't seem like it was fake or
Yeah.
like a facade. Like this is just genuinely who they are. Like he's the corny husband who cracks jokes that aren't that funny, but she will crack up as if he just told the best joke in the world. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like that's the vibe they kind of give me.
Yeah.
Like, but 10 out of
Yeah.
10.
I love it. Very wholesome, very inspirational, informative, but
Mhm.
overall,
Mhm.
like I think the goal was to get them to tell the story the way that they wanted to tell it, and I'm happy that they
Yeah.
were able to, because I'm sure that many people throughout the years, people we know about, people we didn't know about, were not
Yeah.
allowed to tell their stories or
Mhm.
were silenced in some way.
Or even
Um,
when they did, like Diana did, like it completely backfired.
mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. So justice. That's what I
Yes.
have to say. Justice,
Yes.
period.
Yes. Justice, redemption, just love conquers all.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you haven't already, you should watch it.
Yes. It's on Netflix. It's 6 episodes. You can easily sit and watch it in a day or two if you want to split it. It's very good. I really
Mhm.
liked it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if you guys have any other documentaries you think that we should watch and like comment on, please let us know. But otherwise, like this has been our episode for today.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Thank
AM in the
you.
PM, and we'll talk to you guys soon.